What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Welcome back to a Monday edition of Detroit Den 313, fresh off of a dominant victory over the Dallas Cowboys, the most convincing win I've seen from the Detroit Lions in I don't know how many years. It's been a long, long time since we played a football game where it was just a one-sided ass whooping for 4 straight quarters. Very happy. Team's 4-1. We're looking very good, but obviously the big news still, Aidan Hutchinson out for the year, more than likely. I know there's some rumors flowing around that he might be ready for the Super Bowl or playoffs. I'm not banking on that. I can't bank on a player coming back from a injury this serious and playing football again. I can't buy into that. It's great to think about. I hope he's healing well. I hope the surgery went well. I hope nothing but the best for Aidan Hutchinson. Don't plan on seeing him until 2025. But we got a problem for 2024, plain and simple. I've been up all night doing research all morning, trying to put together an episode that I think is fair and realistic. And if you know me, I try to harness my expectations for what I think is Madden type trades. And then there's some more realistic options. But I'm telling you right now, if I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm on the phone right now with the Cleveland Browns talking about Myles Garrett. Okay. When we have to make a trade, you have to look at teams who are underperforming right now. That's the Cleveland Browns. They are bottom of the barrel in their division. They have 1 win, I believe. They're stuck with a shitty quarterback that hasn't worked out. They gave up the farm for Deshaun Watson. They're paying him a lot of guaranteed money. I think that the Cleveland Browns are going to be in a position where they need to blow up their whole team, start it off from scratch. How do you do that? You have to acquire draft picks. Hey, we just lost Aidan Hutchinson. I have to give up a draft pick for Myles Garrett. When I look at the Detroit Lions roster, what are our huge needs? We're locked in at quarterback. We're locked in at running back. We just re-signed David Montgomery to an extension, so he's going to be here for the next 4 years. Jahmyr Gibbs is still on a rookie deal. We're set at wide receiver. We re-signed Amon-Ra St. Brown. We'll worry about Jameson Williams in a couple years when his contract's up. When I look at offensively, we might have to replace a couple pieces on the offensive line. We can do that in the draft with other draft picks. Defensively, we're set. In the secondary, we have Brian Branch. Kirby Joseph's going to be around. Terrion Arnold's on a rookie deal. Ennis Rakestraw's on a rookie deal. Carlton Davis is playing good football. Defensively, we're set, except for the defensive line. So when I look at the Detroit Lions and how the roster is, what's under contract, what do we have to worry about later, it's a no-brainer to me that trading for Myles Garrett fixes a problem immediately and for the future. Again, this might seem far-fetched, but like I said, the Cleveland Browns, they're in an absolute football hell right now with how much they're paying Deshaun Watson and what they're going to have to do. He's not performing at the level that he's getting paid. We saw Joe Flacco come in there last year and take that team into a playoff run. They get Deshaun back. Now their team's at the bottom of the barrel. When I'm looking at Myles Garrett, we're talking about a former defensive player of the year who probably wants to win. Now, has he come out and said he wants to be traded? No. And like I said, trading for him fixes things right now. You plug him in, he takes Hutch's spot. You're still getting high-level production. The Detroit Lions are a team that have aspirations. There's expectations for this team to win the Super Bowl. Josh Pascal and company. I'm not even going to talk about James Houston, guys. I can't put faith in James Houston. He's played like 3 snaps and has as much production as I do. If you're thinking that James Houston's going to suddenly miraculously find his football game and he's going to be the savior of the Detroit Lions, I'm telling you right now, this is probably not the channel for you to be watching because I don't believe in that shit at all. James Houston is not going to be on the team probably next year. All right, we need to find replacements now. Okay, if Marcus Davenport didn't get hurt earlier in the season, I would be less stressed about where the team is today with Aidan Hutchinson being out. We've literally lost both of our starting defensive ends who were playing at a high level. Marcus Davenport in just 1 game had like 6-7 pressures. Okay, Aidan Hutchinson, you know the story there, on track to be defensive player of the year. We have to find a starting defensive end. We can't just throw a body out there in Isaac Ukwu or Josh Pascal or Levi Onwuzurike. We need someone who can come in and contribute. Myles Garrett. If I'm the Detroit Lions, if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm giving you a first-round pick. Hey, you guys are about to go through a rebuild. Here's a pick in the late 20s, early 30s, hopefully pick 32 in the 2025 NFL draft. Give me Myles Garrett on a very team-friendly deal. That's another thing I have to look at. I have to look at what would we end up paying him. Looking at Myles Garrett's contract, it's going to be around $20 million for the next 3 years. You're telling me I'm getting a guy who doesn't turn 29 until December, a former defensive player of the year, on my team for the next 3 years for a first-round pick? I can't get you that draft pick fast enough. Put it in a briefcase, drop it off at my house. I'll hit the highway and walk it to Cleveland myself. Okay. And that's just fixing 1 year problem. Now you want to talk about 2025 when Hutch comes back, defensive player of the year candidate. Like, it's a no brainer. You just solved a lot of problems with giving up one draft pick. And I get it. Brad Holmes hasn't done this move yet. He hasn't done this move yet. I think he knows. I try to put myself in the mindset of Brad Holmes, where he hasn't given up a first-round draft pick for a player, but maybe it's time. And I'm not calling for it. I'm not demanding it. I'm not going to cry or whine and bitch about it if it doesn't happen. And I'm not trying to mortgage the future. I'm trading a first-round pick for a player of Myles Garrett caliber on a very team-friendly deal. A lot of people wanted to sign Danielle Hunter this offseason. What's the difference between paying Myles Garrett, who has a more proven track record and is younger, still in his prime-ish? Okay, he's not a 22-year-old pup anymore, but he's still got a lot of gas left in the tank. And next year we're going to be getting Aidan Hutchinson back, and now we have Hutch and Garrett. You just solved your problems for having an elite pass rush and a very good secondary. We have the two best safeties in the NFL. 2025, you throw out Hutch and Myles Garrett. Good luck. Thoughts and prayers. It's not this defense number 1 overall in the league. Guys, I'm not panicking. I'm thinking this is a very, very realistic option. Probably the biggest name to start watching is Myles Garrett, with how the Cleveland Browns are performing right now, how their team is set up, what's going on with their franchise. They don't have much to look forward to. Okay. I'm not trying to throw shade. I don't have any beef with the Cleveland Browns. I don't have any history with them. I'm just looking at teams at the bottom of the barrel in the NFL. I have some other options I'm going to talk about later. Some cheaper. Maybe you guys want some more realistic options that maybe aren't as sexy. But when I think about Myles Garrett in the Honolulu blue jersey with Aidan Hutchinson in the future, he fixes your problem for 2024, and he gives you a dominant defense for 2025, 2026, 2027, when he's still barely 30 years old. Okay. And I know a lot of people want Max Crosby. We'll talk about that later. But when I'm looking at short-term and long-term solutions, if I'm Brad Holmes, Myles Garrett's number 1 on my list. We're looking at Aidan Hutchinson coming back and being defensive player of the year next year, and probably comeback player of the year. It's a scary, scary thought for offensive linemen. And just continuing thinking about what the Detroit Lions need in the draft. We don't need much next year. Okay, we're drafting guys and we're putting them on the shelf for a couple years. All right, we haven't even really seen Ennis Rakestraw, who we drafted in the 2nd round. It's just a nice scenario to be in, where we have a lot of guys locked in on contracts, a lot of guys locked in on rookie deals. The pieces we need are minimal. We need a little bit of help and depth along the offensive line, because we have some guys that are getting older and some guys that are getting banged up. We need a little help on the defensive line. Other than that, I don't see any huge needs for this team. Call Cleveland, give up that first-round pick, get me Myles Garrett in a uniform by the end of November, and I'm more than happy, guys. Stick around. Leave some comments. I'm sure there's going to be some comments on this channel, on this episode. I'm ready for it. Stick around. Hit that like button, guys. I'll be back later with another show. Thanks for watching.